How long has it been going now?
6 months that we've been open.
Okay.
Hello. First of all, I want to say good morning, and I have a few thanks to give to this congregation and to the minister. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me as a representative of the Windsor Youth Centre. I know a lot of you know George, and perhaps we're looking forward to seeing him here today, and he would have really liked to be here if he didn't have commitments elsewhere, but he sends his hellos to everybody. And I also want to say thank you, because I look out into the congregation, and there are people who have already helped us at the Windsor Youth Centre, who have already made donations. The congregation as a whole has already made a very generous donation, and some of you folks have actually been to the centre and have helped and scrubbed and cooked and just sat and chatted with the youth and did all kinds of things. So I want to make sure that I get those thanks out, because without people like you, I wouldn't even be up here. I wouldn't have anything to talk about, because there would be no centre. So thank you very much for everything you've already done. I think probably some of you would like to know the basics, the sort of who, what, where, why, when, and how of the Windsor Youth Centre. And the easiest ones are the ones I'm going to do first. Where is the Windsor Youth Centre? This is a place that exists in Windsor. We've been open. Doors were open on October 20th, so that makes it a 6-month sort of mark this month. And we're at 1321 Wyandotte Street East. It's between Hall and Moy. It's a little restaurant that we converted into the youth center. It's not a huge space, but it's a very friendly, sort of cozy space. We've got a full kitchen, and we prepare a big meal every night. So that's where we are. And also, when are we open? We are open every night from 5 till 10. And when we were thinking about opening the center, we struggled with what the hours would be. We decided that during school hours was not a good idea, because youth should be in school. And sometimes, the evenings and the nighttime hours are the most difficult to get through. They're the coldest, they're the darkest, they're the most difficult. So that's when we decided to be open. So every night of the year from 5 till 10, our doors are open to any youth between the ages of sort of 16-ish to 25-ish. We don't ask for ID, so we don't really necessarily know unless we ask. But, there's an open door policy there, and everyone gets a friendly hello whenever they walk through the door. And then the next thing we say after that is, "Are you hungry? Have you eaten?" And I'm sure that the kids here who went through their 30 hours can understand how welcome a question that might be to somebody who hasn't eaten all day. So I want to commend you guys. That's a really cool thing to do, because you've learned something that actually not a lot of people who have the privilege of getting food every day learn. And one of the most surprising things, I'm always learning with the youth center, but one of the most surprising things for some of our volunteers is that sometimes these youth come in and they're really, really hungry, and pile up a big plate of food for them, and they get halfway through it and they can't finish it. And they feel terrible for leaving a half a plate of food, and they really want to eat it, but they can't. And so, we assume that if someone's really hungry, they're just going to eat and eat and eat and eat, but sometimes our bodies just don't let us do that. So there are all kinds of lessons to be learned, and you learned a great one, so good for you. In terms of, who is welcome there, as I said, the youth, but also we have a lot of volunteers. We also have visitors from the neighborhood who come in, just neighborhood people who are curious, and they want to come in and say hello. And we've got a guy who comes in and he plays a piano for us, and he actually crochets hats and, does all kinds of things, and he'll come in once in a while for dinner and chit-chat. So it's a very friendly place. Any of you are more than welcome to come and visit any evening between 5 and 10. And just sort of play a game of euchre or chess, or sit and have a chat. More than welcome. We would love to see you there. In terms of what is the Windsor Youth Centre, that's a little bit trickier. It's a little bit more complicated. And, George and I were pretty much it's pretty much our fault that this whole thing got started, I'd say. We got a lot of help along the way, but I think we were the ones who thought, yeah, this is what needs to happen. And George sometimes reminds me of that on the tough days that are hard to get through. He says, you're the one who wanted a drop-in center. I go, okay. But you know, in deciding what it is, in trying to define it, I never would have been able to define it before it opened. And that's simply because every single person who is a part of that center is a part of that center and contributes to creating it. So like the minister mentioned this morning, you know, with Easter, we are born again. This place is born new every single day. And everybody who is there, or everybody who has donated something to that place, everybody who has even, you know, thought about it or sent us out a prayer, every single one of those people has contributed to what that place is on that particular day. And so far, so good, because it's a really nice, friendly place. But like I said, you know, it's constantly changing, and it's constantly being contributed to in lots of different ways by lots of different people. Now, I tried to ask some of the kids, how would they describe, you know, this center? A lot of them come there every day. And, you know, one of them said, well, it's a place where we can be off the street, you know. Another one said, it's a place where we can have something to eat. Another one said, oh, well, it's a place where no one makes me feel like a freak. And that's true, because when you're poor, when you don't have a lot of money, and you walk into a Tim Hortons or a McDonald's just because it's cold outside, or just because you need a warm place, or just because you've got nowhere else to go, and you don't have the money for even a coffee, a lot of times you feel like a freak. But we've got the drop-in center now, and so you can come in there and you can get a coffee, and you don't have to have any money at all, and you don't have to feel like a freak. You can sit down and have a chit-chat with somebody, you know. And I think that that's really important for a lot of these youth, that they want to feel normal, you know. That's what the youth said when I asked them, and this was already a couple of months ago. But also it's a little, you know, we do offer a lot of other things. We offer free laundry, which is very, very important. When it comes down to doing your laundry at a laundromat and spending $7 or $8 or $10, or buying yourself something to eat, most people choose something to eat. You guys probably understand that too. You know, so free laundry, that's very important. We've got toothbrushes and toothpaste and shampoo and all of that stuff, because you know, personal hygiene is very important. A lot of these kids do go to school. They don't want to be made fun of. They want to feel good. And being clean makes us feel good a lot of times, you know. So we've got that. We have computers and internet, and every day between 7:30 and 9, those computers are dedicated only to homework, resume writing, looking for an apartment, looking for a job, you know. So we've got this quiet time where this is a very important resource for kids. Without a computer nowadays, it's really hard to find the things that we need. Try to look for a job in the classified section of the newspaper. Not as easy as getting on Kijiji, okay? So the computers are a very important aspect. Also, there are some kids who use the printer. They print out college applications, things like that. Very important things. OSAP applications. But like I said, there's no way I could have imagined exactly what it is. And there's no way I can really describe it unless you actually come by and see. It's sort of a magical place. So that's what the youth center is. And then we come up with the why and the how. Why did we do this, and how do we keep doing it? How did we start in the first place? And these two things are kind of combined together. The answer is combined together. In preparing to come and talk to you, I tried to think of something that would sum up the experience or help to explain what I wanted to communicate. And George and I have a very favorite thing to do, and that sometimes we download, or, sorry, I know that's not legal, but sometimes we listen to, on the internet, Martin Luther King sermons. They're very, very wonderful, very dynamic. He was a very instrumental person in history. And I recommend this for anybody if you've got 20 minutes. But anyway, one of the quotations of his that I really thought was appropriate was he once said that faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the entire staircase. That's faith. Not knowing what's in the future, not knowing what's coming up next, not knowing that you're going to be successful, and yet taking that first step anyway. And that actually really ties in with what our scripture was today, because, as I started thinking about, well, what was our first step in this drop-in center? What was the first step? Was it finding a place, signing the lease, getting it? No, none of that. The very first step was facing the truth. Not turning away from the truth, opening our hearts to the truth. And that truth was, as we saw it, that there are young people in Windsor, you guys age and older, young people in Windsor who don't have food to eat on a daily basis. There are young people in Windsor who don't have a safe home. There are young people in Windsor who don't even have a home at all, who have nowhere to go. They have to rely on friends who will let them stay on their couches, that kind of thing. There were a couple of kids who walked to the center, which is almost Walkerville, from Prince Road, because they heard they could get some food there. And we have a little pantry with canned goods, cereals, whatever is donated. And once I found out that they didn't have any food where they were just staying with friends, they said, and they were 16 and 17, so they're kids, in a sense, not adults. I offered them some of the food from our pantry to take home with them for breakfast and lunch the next day. And they were very grateful, took a bunch of stuff with them, and then before they left, they asked, well, we're sorry to ask, but have you got maybe a bowl and a spoon? And I said, well, yeah. And I said, the people that you're staying with, do they let you use their spoons and bowls? And they said, oh, they don't have any. Which was an eye-opener for me, because I had assumed that they were staying with people who had a home like I have a home, with a kitchen full of stuff. And in fact, where they were staying was with 3 other 17-year-olds, and there was no kitchen at all in this place. It was simply a room that 5 young people got enough money together to stay in, and that's happening in Windsor now. So this is the truth that I started to see before we opened the center, and that I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't turn away from. So that was the first step, being able to see the truth. And honestly, after that, everything else fell into place. I mean, the scripture today talked about truth and action together. And in my experience, the one follows the other. If we are open to the truth, if we don't turn away from the truth, we start acting. That's just what happens, because we can't ignore things anymore. And we want to see a change. We want to see positive things happening. We don't want to see these difficult things that are happening. So that was the first step. And that's why we started thinking about opening a drop-in center, because basically we looked around, we could see that there were young people, and after asking a lot of questions of a lot of people, we found out that there was nowhere for them to go. Before October 20th, 2011, there was nowhere in this city, as well as in Essex County, for a young person to go to get a meal, to get a toothbrush, to get help with an OSAP application or a resume, all in the same place, and especially not after 5 o'clock. And that was the truth. So that was our first step, and that's the why.